So I started studying law, and then after 6 months, I decided to study also an undergrad in philosophy. I wasn't so happy about the legal context, and basically what I wanted to do is switch completely to philosophy, and I went to see this professor who's called Raphaël Gély in Brussels, and I remember he opened his door, we talked for an hour, and basically his suggestion was keep studying law, but try to ask questions about the legal system that interest you through those other fields you're interested in. And ever since then, that was in 2014, which is a long time ago, I basically have been following his advice and trying to do that. My research is on storytelling by international courts and tribunals. What does that mean is that I look at the work of courts through a narrative lens. I focus on the stories they tell and how those stories percolate in culture. I had two main focuses so far. One is in my PhD on the International Court of Justice. When I applied with the idea of working on the International Court of Justice as a storyteller, I thought it would be really cheeky because a couple of years ago it was really not seen as a very storytelling-like court, but it became, front page concerns for many people with recent cases. So that has been going on for 3 years now. And the other main focus I have is on climate change and climate change litigation before different courts in Belgium and in Strasbourg mostly. And so I've been writing on how courts weave convincing, compelling stories about the climate crisis and what does that mean about what they do. The topic generates two main types of expectations, which both, I believe, are misplaced. The one type is the very skeptical approach. Storytelling is not something courts do. It's ornamental, it's a footnote to a ruling, but it's really not important, which I don't think is true. I think storytelling actually cuts across the work of courts and is a very important part of what courts do. And the other category is maybe the more tricky one, and many people fall in that category, is the over-enthusiasm. Storytelling is the key to justice. Storytelling is the key to reforming the legal system, making it finally fair and diverse and inclusive. And that's also mistaken, I think. And I'm not, of course, the first one to say that, because storytelling, and there is this nice sentence, storytelling is like a moral chameleon. It's by a professor called Peter Brooks, about how storytelling can be used for the worst things as well as the better things. And so dispelling those expectations and sitting somewhat awkwardly between those two positions has been a challenge. And then, of course, when you work with a topic like storytelling, which links to human experience, life stories, you have a whole bunch of ethical concerns that go with it. If you work on climate change in the abstract, it's relatively comfortable, but as soon as you start thinking about like concrete situations of people who lose their livelihood, lose their state, it becomes sometimes very heavy to carry. Storytelling enables you to think about one specific thing that courts may be doing, even in non-binding opinions, and that is somehow contributing to shaping collective stories, collective meaning-making. And one concept I've been looking into, which has been developed in the literature, is the idea of unavoidable reference points. And basically what that means is once an authoritative court says something about a phenomenon like climate change or migration, if you want to speak about that phenomenon in the future, you have to engage with that stance, even if you disagree with it. Even perhaps necessarily if you disagree with it, you have to openly disagree with it. And that means that courts slowly but surely map and shape the space of what can be said and not be said about a phenomenon. A whole aspect of my research is to try to think about translators, if you want to call them that, or spokespeople, all these actors who take what courts say and then somehow translate it in a language that is understandable for their constituencies. So civil society, trade unions, interest groups, right? And those actors, those secondary actors, play an immensely important role in shaping public debate and moving culture forward. And I think trying to spell this out in a theoretically rigorous way and an exploratory way can really move the needle forward in helping us understand what's happening.